Good morning. My name is Zach Robertson, and I'm the volunteer leader of the Missions Outreach and Evangelism team here at Edgebrook Covenant Church. As our church prays through our denomination's Serve Globally prayer calendar, we, as a church, will have the opportunity to pray on June 19th for two of the missionaries that we support, Jeff and Carolyn Stoker, who serve in Cameroon, as well as Barb and Steve Swanson, who serve in Sweden. It is my pleasure to provide this video as an update from each of them.
So we're still in Southern California, in Vista, California, home, and trying to wait to see when we can go back.
And in fact, we just watched graduation from Rainforest International School on Zoom earlier today.
Right, today was graduation day, so yeah, that was exciting.
Cool.
I am Barb Swanson, married to Steve Swanson. When I was hanging out at Edgebrook back in the 90s, I was Barb Boca, seminary student getting ready to go back to Africa. In 2004, Steve and I got married. We took in Edgebrook, yes, we did. Took a little side tour for 12 years through Belgium, Antwerp, Belgium, where Steve worked as the pastor of an international church, and I worked as a covenant missionary among refugees. And then in 2016, God called both of us to work among refugees, and we've landed in Malmö, Sweden. And just recently, thanks to Desiree, Zach, Pastor Greg, and everyone who sends out such great emails from Edgebrook, we've been able to connect a couple times and show up for virtual coffee hours, and that's been a sweet thing. So we're working with refugees in Malmö, Sweden. Think Copenhagen, Denmark, because that's closer to where we live. That's 15 minutes away, Copenhagen, versus Stockholm is 6 hours away. And maybe I'll defer to you if you want to talk about the corona.
So like many places in the world, COVID hit Sweden, but they chose a little different path. Sweden hasn't done such a severe lockdown, but they have restricted gatherings of people to less than 50. And so we haven't been having live worship services, but we have been having live sending over Facebook and YouTube. And after the 21st of June, we're hoping to be able to open up again to maybe 30 or 40 people in the church itself. So things are changing, but we're still watching carefully and being careful about social distancing. So it's been a challenge to meet some of our refugee and immigrant friends who feel quite isolated. But we have been able to keep our language cafe going through the internet, through Zoom too. So that's been one fun way to keep in touch.
Actually, it was from Desiree and you guys at Edgebrook that we learned how to do the breakout rooms during the virtual coffee hour. And so when we figured out how to do that, then we said, okay, now we're gonna invite our language cafe to go back online. And it's been really successful, actually quite fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Jeff and Carolyn, I know you touched a little bit on your ministry at school. Could you expand on that a little more, just I guess in terms of your roles in the school and how you've heard the school itself, other teachers, the students, how that's all been affected by this coronavirus?
Okay, so my main role is administrative. I'm an accountant by trade, or was before we went to the mission field 30 years ago, and I've been doing that different places, first Congo, before Cameroon. And so obviously my job's been affected more than Carolyn's currently, because certain aspects of what I need to do, obviously I need to be physically present. I'm getting lots of reports and still doing the parts I can, but some people like having to hand out the cash and pay people in my absence. For Carolyn, because the school closed down a day after we left, everybody had to scramble, like here in schools in the U.S., to go teach online. So Carolyn's been teaching online full-time. Well, it takes longer to do it online, as I'm sure you've all heard. So until literally the day before yesterday, finally things have, with school finishing, there's calmed down a little bit. But Carolyn's continued to teach science classes full-time, and I've been working on the finances. And we have other roles when we're physically present at the school, but a lot of things have changed in the short run, obviously. But hopefully next year we'll see what happens as the next year comes, if we are able to go back to teaching, or if we'll start next year online, just like schools here in the U.S. are all struggling with that.
Right,
Yeah.
so it's kind of our not knowing. So in the meantime, you're learning new skills, trying to figure out how you could teach this class online and not go crazy while doing it, how your students could do it, how can you work with limited internet. Our students, especially the ones who are in Cameroon, and some of our kids have now spread across other countries as well. So, but in Cameroon, they have rolling power outages, so you can't do synchronous Zoom classes and expect them to all be present.
Sure.
Because half the time their internet's out. I have a small AP biology class that we met once a week live just to talk. We didn't have good enough internet for video, but even that, one person missed almost every other week just because they didn't have signal or they didn't have power or whatever.
You mentioned AP Bio, Carolyn. Are you teaching just senior level classes? Are you teaching, what grade levels or ages are you teaching?
This last year I taught 10th through 12th graders. Next year I'm actually starting a new program that is a science and math combined STEM class. So I'll be doing that, and it's a brand new curriculum that we're designing. So that's part of what we were working on doing before COVID, and now I and the 8th grade teacher will be working on trying to figure out how we're going to do it both online and in the classroom. So I'll be doing that, and then also teaching AP Physics. So I'm going to teach at two ends of our spectrum. Our school goes from grades 7 through 12, and I'll be teaching 7th graders and 12th graders.
Wow, that's a lot. And being online and trying to figure that part out, like I've just been a teacher assistant in a 4th grade classroom, and like that was enough for us trying to get feedback from kids and everything in the 4th grade level. So I can't imagine that high school, like move into college level and all that goes into that. That's really intense and really crazy. And I guess I wanted to keep this short so we can start wrapping it up. How best, and this goes to both Sweden and California/Cameroon, how can Edgebrook as a church best support you in this time? You as individuals, as families, as missionaries? Like, are there prayer requests that you'd like to bring to our attention? Is there some other way that we can best support you?
Okay, we'll hop in here first. Our most immediate need right now, which is something that missionaries deal with all the time, is residency permits. Our current permits expired on the 31st of May. We turned in applications for new permits on the 25th of February, and then everything went a little crazy. We were told back in February that it could be a couple weeks after the date that we could wait till. So, and then COVID hit, and so everything's up in the air. It's all up in the air. So just pray that that would come through in a timely manner. We're not anxious about it, but it is just kind of sitting back there in our heads going, yeah, it would be nice to have that confirmed. So that's our most pressing. And Steve has something to say about the church.
The other one is that our local partner church here is going through a pastoral transition this summer. Our really good friend and partner here, Pastor David, is moving on to another call. And so we are interviewing some candidates for a new pastor position, and we would just ask you to pray for that process, because I think we're really at a strategic time in our community, church community and local community, of really being able to reach out in some new ways. So pray for that transition through the next few months. Thanks.
Great.
Yes, for us, some similar sorts of issues. We're praying that we can go back in a timely manner. The school is supposed to start, we pushed it back a couple weeks, so it'll be late August now instead of early to mid-August like it normally is. But we have new staff, ourselves to try to get back, new staff supposed to come, and we'll probably have to quarantine for 14 days, and still we need to get back in time so that's over, and hopefully we can have teacher meetings at the start of the school. And things we just don't know. There's still no international flights. I mean, you can book a flight, but then it's probably going to be canceled. So we're still on holding pattern in terms of when we'll be allowed. Not us personally, but anybody. But we do hope that it's before July 31st, because otherwise we face the same issue. Our visas run out on the 31st. Obviously, we're going to renew them normally, but it's more difficult if we don't get back by then, because then we'll have to apply for a travel visa from Washington, D.C., and the consulate's not open. So we really hope and pray that we can get back. And also just wisdom for the school, whether or not it's safe to socially distance and to run school starting in August, or if we'll have to start with the online. So I guess those are two of our big issues.
Great. Well, thanks so much for hopping on in all your different time zones here. I'm glad this worked out. And just know that we'll be praying for you. We'll be staying in touch. And as Barb mentioned, feel free to hop on. We have a YouTube page now. Check out our YouTube page for all our past services. And yeah, thanks for joining us, Swansons and Stokers. Appreciate it.
Thank
you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Jado.